Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Yes, you can mute yourself. So I will let you mute yourselves if you want. So we can continue this way. Yes. So I'll start right now. Today we have the last session of the proposal writing workshop. It's on budget. So how can we develop a budget for a proposal? And I hope you will get some good information from the session. And for sure, it needs a lot of application. I mean, to try to develop a budget for a proposal, so you could feel like more confident next time when you develop a proposal. So I will talk a little bit on the slides. We will go through some slides, and then we will work together on. I will work with you together to develop a whole budget for a proposal, whether on the Excel sheet or directly on Portal 365. So we could start right now. Yes. Let me share the slides. Yes, perfect. Yeah, so our today session objectives is how to be able to develop a budget for a single activity. If you are, for example, if you are requested to develop a budget for a training activity or awareness session or whatever, then what you should consider when you do the budget, and also when you develop a budget for the whole project, how to do that, and also if there are some comments from the donors after you submit your proposals, what should you do to modify according to the donors' comments. So again, we go through this ladder for. So now today we are talking about the budget. As you notice here, we like last session was gender inclusion. We didn't talk about NGO and partners capacity or project sustainability. I think you can read about that. And also maybe we could share some discussions on the LinkedIn group, or we could, I mean, if you have any questions, you could read that on our learning center and Portal 365. Also, you can come back to me anytime if you need like more clarification about them. Because usually they are like kind of general information, but still, if you need any questions, more clarifications, please don't hesitate to talk and ask about them. For the budget, which is what we are going to talk about today, what we need to consider is that usually there is a budget header, like whenever you are preparing a budget for a single activity or a whole proposal, you need to learn about this header, like this like this orange color. You will have this, for example, this is number, this is item, unit cost in US dollar or euros or Yemeni riyals or whatever the currency is, and number of units, duration in months or in days. So we'll talk about this. So for example, if we are developing the budget of the whole project, then it will be on months. The duration will be on months. But if we are developing a single activity for like, for example, a training, awareness session or whatever, it will be on days. And percent covered. So for example, the donor will like, for example, the donor will only cover 30% of this activity. So the percent covered from the same donor that we are going to submit this proposal to, and also the total. So the budget header is really important. I'm sure once you realize how to use it and you understand it, it's easy, but it would be easier once you start to apply it on your budget development. Once you use it, you will understand fully how to apply it in each budget. Because I'm sure like some of you will be confused if you are developing the budget for the first time, is how to understand the percentage of covering. Sometimes there are some confusion in number of units or durations. So we will go through some examples. If we see here, for example, this is a project manager. The unit usually is not a number. I need you to notice this. When we talk about unit, it's not a number, it's what is this item about. So for example, a project manager, what is it in terms of unit? Is it a person or office or day or activity or session, or what is it? So a project manager usually is a person. So when we see unit cost, it means the cost of the person. The project manager is a person. The unit cost, the cost of the person is 1,000 for like per month. And we have only one unit. It's like one person, 6 months duration. By like, it will be covered 100%. So we will have 1,000 by 1 by 6. By 100%, we will end up in having $6,000 because now the total will be in dollars because the unit costs is in dollars. So for this item, the project manager for 6 months in a 1 month $1,000 salary a month will be 6,000. The same for office rent. If the office the unit for office rent is office, so this cost is for office for a month. So $300 for one office because number of unit is 1. So 3 by 1 by 6 months. But it's covered only 30% because usually the office is covered from many projects. This donor will cover only 30% from the total budget of this proposal. So the like we will have 300 by 1 by 6 by 30%. We will end up charging this donor only 600 out of because usually the total is 1,800 if it's 100%, and 30% of this will be 600. Please, if you have some comments, don't hesitate to write the comments on the chat, and I will come back to it every time. For the travel costs, usually we could mention this is per day, so we will have a unit cost of $200. The number of units is 2, so the duration of 6 months, it's like each month we will have 200 for 2 times each month. We will end up of having 2,400. So 200 by 2 is 400. By 6, we will have like also 100%. It will be 2,400 US dollars. If you notice here, the donor, because this is not very clear how it is going to be spent. When we say by day, is it going to cover one person? It is going to cover more than 2 persons. It is going to cover car rental, peridium, whatever. So is it going to cover the travel costs, the accommodation, for example, hotel rent, car rent, whatever. So in order to make it very clear, usually the donor is asking for more details on some items. So we could do it like this, and we will talk more how to make it on details. For example, this is another activity, training 30 nurses on infection prevention. This is one of the activities we usually conduct on health projects. So if we are going to train 30 nurses on infection prevention, then we will have an activity. The activity, if you notice here, the unit is activity. So we are talking about the whole activity, and we assume that, or we calculated that this activity is 3,000. So this is 3,000 for this activity. Number of units, because it's activity, but number of units, it means number of activities. It's just one activity, and for one time, it will be conducted one time, will be covered 100%. It will be 3,000 by 1 by 100%, continue to be 3,000. Here we have conduct 100 awareness sessions. The unit will be session, and here the cost of the session is $50 US, and it will be 100 sessions. So we will conduct each session only one time. So 50 by 100 by 1, it will be covered 100% from this donor. So the cost will be $5,000. This is in general. Let me see if you already have. I think we have a comment here, or we have a question. How can we know the percentage precisely? Is it extracted by donor or it's managed in the organization itself? Ahmed Ashami is asking, how can we know the budget exactly? So, for example, how can we know the percentage? Yes, so the answer for your question, Ahmed, is that usually we try to charge the donor 100%. So usually we try to charge 100%. But because of like the experience, we have been like contacting many donors. When we negotiate with them, usually if we are charging the salary of the executive director or the programs manager or the programs, even if it's like a program manager, usually the donor is refusing to charge these people 100%. But the project manager, because it's like it's going to spend 100% of his or her time on the project, so it will be 100%. But for the office rent, you need to like the donor refused to cover the whole office of the organization if this office is having people like if this office is hosting people that are working on different projects. So the donor says, okay, I will pay 30% only for the staff that are funded by me. So this 30% is covering the staff that are funded within this project. Let's propose that this NGO has 10 projects. If the donor knows that you have 10 projects, then the donor will negotiate to make it only 10%, because the donor will assume that you have 10% charged from every donor. So this one is going through a lot of negotiations. But some activities the donor cannot negotiate, because you will say, okay, I will conduct 100 awareness sessions, and for sure it will be covered 100% by same donor. We will go further and discuss more about it. Let me see another question, maybe. Okay, no other question. Okay. Let's go for the other activity. So here, for example, we have many components. The budget has many components for every proposal. You need to expect that you can cover the project staff, so the staff salary. Some donors this component you could name it like project staff, or you could name it HR, human resources. So this is the human resources, the staff salaries and other related costs. For example, if you are going to have a social insurance, medical insurance, if you are going to cover things related to the HR, then it will be part of this component. The second component will be activities, materials, goods. If you are going to buy something, if you are going to print something, conduct an activity, for example, if there is a training, awareness session, printing, let's see, brochures. If you are going to, maybe it's a lot of things. Maybe we can see in the next examples. But in general, there are many activities that you could put on number 2. So mostly, or usually, most of the activities of most of the project budget is going on number 2. Number 3 is for equipment. So if you are going to buy laptops for the project staff, you will put them here in the budget, in the equipment. Sometimes you put equipment related to, for example, if you are going to have medical supplies for the health centers, maybe some equipment for water projects, equipment for schools, maybe the equipment that is going to go for the direct beneficiaries. Sometimes we put it on number 2, and we could put it on number 3. So the equipment is negotiable. Some donors, they say, okay, put them in the activities. Some of them, they say, no, put them separated on the equipment. For number 4, it's for contracts with suppliers and contractors. For example, if you have For example, if you have a cash transfer and you want the cash transfer to be done through a bank, you will have some contracts with banks or money exchange agencies, and then the contracts will be under this item. So for example, if you are going to have a cash transfer for 1,000 people, then the whole amount of the cash transfer, in addition to the, let's say, the amount of money, the percentage of money that you will charge, for example, 4% that you will give the bank, it will be also under item number or component number 4. We will go on details next slides, or when we work together in Portal or in the Excel sheet, we will go on details. Number 5, we will talk about travel and transportation. For example, any travel costs related to monitoring and evaluation. If you are going to have or to rent a car, or it's whether monthly or daily, whenever there is a kind of travel costs for monitoring and evaluation, for project management, if they are going to the field, then you will have the travel costs here in number 5. 6 will cover the grants to sub-implementing partners. If you have other NGOs that will be sub-implementing partners, for example, now the big NGOs, whether they are national or international NGOs, they usually have a co-applicant or an implementing partner. Then the grant that you will give it to this NGO, it will be here separated on number 6. Number 7 will cover the operation costs. Operational costs cover the office rent, stationery, electricity, utilities like water, maybe water costs, any things related to, you could cover communication, like mobile costs, internet costs, whether for the office or for the mobiles of the staff. If you are going to buy something for the office in terms of stationery, anything, and sometimes we buy diesel or let's say fuel for the generators, anything that will cover electricity, water, internet, communication, office, stationery. So the expenses inside the office will be part of the operational costs. Number 8 and number 9 is not usually included in all donors' proposals, but it could be in the biggest, like for example, when you talk about the Swedish International Agency, the Swedish International Development Agency, for example, SIDA, DFID, the Department for International Development, or UK Aid, US Aid, DANIDA, like Danish international agencies. So the big NGO, like the big donors, usually they have number 8 and number 9. So there is what is called overhead costs. It's admin costs. 7% is usually given for the NGOs to cover anything that was not included from 1 to 8 to 7. So for example, if you forget to include anything but you really need it, then you can cover from the admin costs. Another thing is that if you want to save some money for the NGO to ensure the sustainability of the NGO, you need to negotiate with the donor that you need 7%. So you calculate all the costs above from 1 to 7, and then for example, if it's $100,000, then you can have $7,000 as admin costs. This is just for the NGO to cover the operation costs. For example, the cost of the head office. For example, if you have another office that is not covered by donors, you can cover from this amount. And also there is one, number 9 is 5%. And as I mentioned, not all the donors agree on a contingency budget. It is usually 5% of the total costs of the project, but usually you can't spend the contingency money because usually it is with the donor. The donor never give you the contingency money unless you request it and you provide justification why you needed the contingency. For example, if you are implementing in a country where there is a currency exchange rate that is volatile, like for example, you have a huge change from month to month, and then you find out that the total budget of the project is not covering the needed costs, and then you need the contingency, you will write a justification letter for the donor and negotiate that the donor will still give you 5% of the total budget of the project to cover any deficiencies that occurred in the total above components of the project. But for the overhead costs is usually provided directly by the donor together with the budget from the above components. And then if, for example, if you spend 20% of this, of everything here, then you deserve 20% of the 7% and so on. We can talk a lot if you have questions around that. Here, for example, there is, if let's say that we have a training 30, maybe here I have a mistake. I'm sure there is, okay. Let's see, okay. Okay, so let's see that we have a training 30 nurses on infection prevention. Let's see that we have this activity training of 30 nurses on infection prevention. Then I still remember since like 2008 when I started to write proposals. Usually when there is a detailed activity or detailed budget for any activity, I put in mind that I need to make sure that I go through 10 different sub items. For example, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. So we have 10 different things. So let's go through them. For example, if you have a training, then you need to cover the trainer costs. This is the first thing you need to put. And usually the item, as we mentioned, is trainer. So he is or she is a person. So the unit is person. The unit cost in US dollars is $100. So like duration per day. So this is 100 per day, but it's like four days. We could have here one, and we have duration 4 days. So for example, I could change this. I could change that the training is for 4 days, for example, or and then here we have one trainer. If it's one trainer, that's one thing. Or it could be it could be for one trainer for 4 days, or the opposite. It could be even for more than one trainer. So it depends. Like it depends on how we are. Sometimes on the same day we have more than one trainer. Then we need to put here 2 or 3. It depends on how many days or how many trainers on a single day we have. So for example, if we have one trainer for each day, then we will put number of units 1 person. For 4 days, then we will end up of having 400 US dollars for the trainer costs. If we have a facilitator, sometimes during the trainings we have not only the trainer, we have one person that is helping the trainer. So we name them as facilitator. So he or she is a person. We can sometimes we put like $20 that is covering the facilitator. Number of units also same. Maybe we will need to have here 1. So it's like 1 person for 4 days. So we will end up of $20 by 1 by 4, 100%. So it will be 80 US dollars. The whole rent, so it's one whole. Unit cost is $50 a day. Let's say that it's $100 a day. Then we will have $100. It is only one whole rent. It's like one whole, but we need to rent it for 4 days. Then we will end up of having, because it's 100%, then we will end up having 400 US dollars for the whole rent. So now we have changed this. So the total will be changed. Stationery. Stationery, we are charging for every person because we have 30 nurses. So we have $10 for each nurse. Number of units is 1. Here there is something wrong here. So so stationery is for example, if we are going to have pens, pencils, booklets, if we are going to print some materials or printing a certificate or whatever, we put this under the stationery if we are going to have small bag or anything. So it will be for person, $10 for each person. Number of units, we have 30 nurses, so 30 person. The duration only one time, we will give them the stationery, 100%. So we'll have 10 by 30 by 1 by 100%. So we'll end up 300. So this one will be $300,000. It's good that we work on it together so you could have more idea. So 10, 30 one time, because it's like stationery, we give it only on the first day. Then we end up of $300 for the stationery. For the coffee break, the same, it's like for person, usually we put like $5 for every person, but we have 30 nurses and we have the trainer, the facilitator and extra, so we could have 35 person. So that we cover the nurses, we cover the trainers, the facilitator, and any other person that is participating. So 35, and the duration will only be for 4 days, and it will be covered 100%. So if we want to calculate this, I will open my mobile to calculate. So we will have $5 by 35 participants for 4 days, covering 100%. So it will be 700 for the coffee break will be $700. For the lunch for person, it will be $10. We will cover also 35 participants. We will cover them for 4 days. So 100%, so we will end up in having $1,400 for the lunch, 4 days. Okay. The transportation for person, we usually provide transportation for the participants or the nurses. So it will be also persons. The unit cost is $10 every day, so the number of units will be 30. Duration is also for 4 days, so 10 by 30 will be 300 by 4, so it's 1,200. So this is covering the transportation cost. So this is a very wrong number for the total. Okay, also we have the travel allowance. For the travel allowance, this is the transportation. Okay, so here I am, maybe I mixed. So here the transportation, sometimes we just give it like 1 time or 2 times, like the first day if they are traveling from another governorate, or so we could have transportation and we could have travel allowance. So it's totally different thing. Transportation is for transportation. Travel allowance is covering other expenses. So we could have, for example, this is only we can give this for 2 days. So it will be 600. And for travel allowance, sometimes if we give travel allowance if they are coming from different city, because if they are coming from different city or different governorate, so they will rent a hotel. They will need to cover the accommodation, like their stay in the hotel, and sometimes their early morning breakfast or late dinner. So we cover this. We call this a travel allowance or daily allowance, depends on how our per diem sometimes. So the travel allowance, it's person. They are 30 nurses. Number of units, let's say unit cost is $30 because it's for the hotel dinner and early morning lunch. So $30, and also there will be 30 nurses. The duration is for 4 days. and this will be a big amount, and usually this is taking most of the budget. Let's calculate 30 by 30 is 900. So it's, I think, 3,400, no, 600, but just to make sure that I'm not wrong. So 30 by 30 by 4 days. Yes, so it's true. So it's 3,600. And documentation and media. Also, we could here have a person, or we can have, if we don't know what is the unit. Is it a person? Is it like for the total activity? Sometimes we say unit is unit. It's like this. Or sometimes we have a total or lump sum. Sometimes we use this lump sum. So sometimes we write it's like total. So it's like this is the total for anything that we need to spend for documentation or media. So for example, it's 10. So maybe we could have here 100. It's just one time, and also once 100. So it will be 100. For the banner, usually we print a banner for the activity. The unit is banner, $30, 1 and 1. So if it's just one banner, and the duration we print it only once for the first day, and we keep it. So it will be $30. So we need to calculate how much is the total activity budget for this. Maybe you have calculated yourselves. Let me see if anyone of you has calculated everything here. So let's say okay. So it's 400 plus 80 plus 400 plus 300 plus, I'm sorry, I'm taking a lot of time here, but just to make sure we are correct, 600, 3,600, 100 plus 30. So it's like the total budget is 7,610. I'm sure some of you will say this is a huge budget for a single activity, but this is how we do it, and this is how everybody is doing it. Because usually if we are bringing the participants, the trainees, if we are bringing them from different governorates, it takes more amount of money. So for example, if we are from the same city, then we will have only transportation for 4 days, which will be 1,200, and we don't have this this item. So we are reducing at least 50% of the total costs of the activity, if the training is in the same city. So usually when this is the difficult part in bringing participants from one governorate to another, or from one city to another. Or if we are bringing them from one country to another, then this amount of money will be huge, because we will have to cover the airline tickets, we will cover the banks, the transportation, like in even more amount of money. So I hope this is giving you more clarity on budgeting. Nice that we put it here. I think we need to correct this one, because, for example, here we can have the same 7,406. Although it's not a totals, but because it's the same activity, I need to make sure that it's like consistent. Okay, great. So this is how we do a detailed budget for any activity. Let's say that we are going to have another detailed activity. For example, the activity is to design and print awareness materials that contain several detailed activities. For example, this is we have awareness campaign, and we will design awareness materials. So for example, we have a design for awareness materials. We have printing brochures, printing posters, and printing awareness toolkits. Sometimes in Arabic we say galab. It's like so. It's like I could have an example here. For example, we might have a training material that is like this, and then we keep when we do awareness session, we so it's like we print it for we give pictures for the uh, it's like some kits that we show our beneficiaries when we conduct awareness sessions, and usually these awareness toolkits costs money, so it's more expensive than the brochures and the posters. So for example, we okay, like the flip chart, yes, it's Abdul Salam said like the flip chart, yes, it's like the flip chart, but it's very small. We print it and we show it to the participants. I noticed here that I have two of you who give me different total for the budget for the detailed previous activity. I hope I didn't put it in a wrong way, so please review it. Okay, so I'll come I'll come back to it, but here, for example, sorry. Okay, so the budget for me is the right one. Thank you. Thank you, Abdul Salam, for this. Okay, so if we are designing awareness material, it will be a lump sum. So for example, the design will be the design for the brochure, for the poster, and for the toolkit. All the design will be lump sums like a total. It will be 300 once. Number of units is once, and the duration is once. So it's covered 100%. So it's 300. The printing for the brochures, if you notice here that it's the unit is a brochure, it's like $0.2 US because we will print 5,000 brochures, but once only we will print them. So like the total will be 1,000. And for the posters, the poster is usually more expensive than the brochure, so it's 0.5. We will need to print 2,000 posters once, 100% cover, so it's like 1,000 also. The toolkit will be one kit, $5 the cost of printing one. We will print 500 toolkit once, so 500 will be 2,500, and we will end up in a total of 4,800 US. Yeah, so I hope it give you more clarity. Just things to make sure things to make sure that that are things to make sure that we consider in the budget is that we try to make sure that there is an M&E budget, M&E budget. I noticed when I was participating as a review committee that we were going through the budget and we were looking for the monitoring and evaluation budget, because some NGOs they are forgetting to they forgot to have items for monitoring and evaluation. For example, field monitoring visits, salary for M&D officer, budget for evaluation activities, for post-distribution monitoring, if you have a final evaluation for the project or whatever. So you need to make sure that you are covering everything. Also, the budget is on market costs plus not more than 10%. It would be much better if you keep the market costs. But if you have to raise something, please let it be like not more than 10%. Because usually like the donor is reviewing the items, and then if they say that there is an exaggeration, like if the budget is much bigger than the donor knowledge, or because usually the donors have some ideas around the budget, they have some consultants, they already collected some information about the costs. So if you give them like a cost that is very much like higher than they are expecting, they will send you comment, or they might refuse the project. And also, if you have an items costs from other relevant clusters, for example, if you have a wash cluster, if you are submitting this for a wash donor, please try to get some ideas from the wash cluster around the cost, for example, of soaps, hygiene kits, the water filters, or whatever, because usually like the cluster is knows exactly the total cost, the average total cost, for example, for the basic hygiene kits, for the consumable hygiene kits, for soap, for whatever. So it's better to have exactly the same budget they have, because if you, I still remember one NGO, they had a budget for a basic hygiene kit of $10, while the cluster is having a $30. So it was a huge difference. The donor bought only $10, while the cluster knows that it's 30. So it was only the third of the average budget. So the cluster refused. They said, I still remember it like today. The cluster coordinator mentioned that this NGO doesn't know anything related to WASH, because they had a budget that was only 30% of the expected budget. So you need to make sure that you are almost close to the expectation of the donor in terms of the budget. Also, you need to consider the ineligible costs. Like most of the donors, if not all the donors, they usually refuse to support to pay debts of the organization or debts interests, provide potential future losses or liabilities, any costs or for beneficiaries that are funded by another work or program. If you need to buy land or to build a building, the whole building, this is very, very rare that they accept that you build a new building. But usually during conflicts, during war, if you are renewing a school or the health unit, this is another thing. But in general, don't apply for activities that has a new construction, a new building, or buying a new land. If there are loss or losses arising from exchange differences, credit to third parties, or salaries for government employees or staff. Usually the donor refuses to pay the staff of the government a salary, because they say, the donor usually say, we don't bring our funding to support the government, that the government should cover their own costs, but we are trying to cover the things that is directly affecting the beneficiaries. And of course, they will support the NGOs because they are the implementing partner. So this is something that you need to put in mind. And maybe we could go to real examples from funded proposals, or we can develop ourselves now on an Excel sheet or directly in Portal 365. Before we go to the Excel sheet or Portal, I will hope that each of you who is working on their own proposals to prepare your project budget, you develop a detailed activity budget also for the items that needs details. Before we go to the detailed budget and work on a single budget, I will hope that let's discuss the next steps. So the next steps will be, okay, the next steps is that we will need that each of you will search for 2 available calls for proposals, and we develop 2 proposals for your NGO or for any other NGO if you want. If you are not working on an NGO, then you can coordinate with an NGO or talk to me. I will try to have an NGO where you can provide a proposal for. Then you submit a proposal, modify per the donor request, and make sure that you do it before the deadline. And I just want to make sure that although we still have one session for project management, we will still have few sessions for project management, monitoring and evaluation. But before we go to project management and monitoring and evaluation, we will still work on real proposals, because I would like to give certificates for participants who really developed successfully and submitted 2 proposals for real donors. Because if you did this, I will feel that you really deserve the certificate. So let's think about it. let's look for donors that have real call for proposals, and I will show you how. So for example, I will stop here. Let me share with you. So how will you find a call for proposal? If you don't know how to do that, then you can go to Portal 365. You can sign into your account. Maybe if you don't have your proposal, if you don't have your NGO account, then you could go to the same batch. So for example, now we have the training. We have the training account, the batch one account. You can go to funding, and then you go to grants. Here in the grants, you will have, for example, this is a deadline on 12th of October. We could submit a proposal. We have a deadline on 25 of November, a deadline on 23 of October, a deadline. This one is tomorrow. This one is after 5 days. This one after 12 days. This one after 15 days, and so on. This one is after 7 months. So let's look for this one is 15 days and so on. I think we need to look for any deadlines, and we try to submit proposals for these donors. Okay, we have okay, we have many fundings that the deadlines is tomorrow, and many the deadline is after 5 days. Okay. So I hope you could go to funding, you could go to grants, or you could go to the donors and look for donors whom they have. For example, this one has available proposal. It's called Spencer. It's on education, and then it's still available. Yes. So you could have you could search for funding on Portal 365. And also we can work on a budget here. Maybe before we go there, we start working on a budget. I want to let me see if you have comments. Yes. I have a question. If we are going to work on previous proposals or working on coming proposals. If you already started your proposal during the training, then let me know, inform me, please, so I can review with you and give you my comments before you submit. But please make sure that you submit because now I need October will be for developing new proposals and submissions. We need to have this experience. Let's develop proposals and submit to real donors during October. After, by the end of October, we will meet together. We will discuss what has been done during the month, who submitted a proposal to which donor, and then we give certificates for those who submitted real proposals to donors. If you didn't start, then you start now. Okay. So if anyone of you has like a question, talk to me separately on LinkedIn. We can talk, and we can agree on like whether you submit new proposals. If you already submitted, just let me know so I can review with you. Because the idea of submission from now on is that I want to see how did you develop a proposal. Did you make sure gender mainstreaming was good? Beneficiary calculation was good, the logical framework was developed on the right way. So I need to review with you how did you do it, so that I feel that you really deserve the certificate, because you might be a trainer someday. Or now I want you to apply the same thinking and make sure that you can you will give the participants, the ones you will train yourself, like the same ideas. Yes. So Let me go to a single proposal here. Let me find support education in Lithuania. Um, we opened this proposal the first day and we didn't work on it, but maybe we could try to develop a budget. Okay, I think I didn't have an authority here, so okay, maybe we can have a new proposal. So for example, let's say let's develop a new proposal: support education in most affected communities. So let's say that we will work together to develop this budget. The donor, let's see that it will be for UNICEF. The deadline will be, let me find the day. So the deadline will be after 10 days. Currency will be US dollars. Location will be, let's see, Yemen. Start date will be first, or let's see, yes, 1st of December, and end date will be 30th of November. So it will be for 1 year. The program will be education. Let's see, where is education? That is not test. Education, this is education. 100%. Next, it will be for everyone to see, and then see. Okay, now we have a new project. So let's go to the budget. We will develop together a budget. So I hope you will see yourself and then decide if you have any questions. Okay. So let's see. We have add the project category as you see here, that there are many categories we can select from here, or we can change. We can have other activities, so other category. For example, if I want to have HR activity, human resources, or I can just select from the list staff costs and save. After it is saved, I could still change the name of the item. But okay, so we have already this. So add row. For example, for the staff cost, I will have project manager. The unit will be person. The cost, let's say that the salary will be 600. The quantity is 1. So it's like this quantity means number of units. So it's like 1. The project will be for 12 months. The charge from the donor, it will be 100%. It is direct activity because usually there are two like different activities. It could be direct activity or support. Usually we try to push that all activities are direct, but sometimes the donors say no, some activities are support. I will show you what is the difference. But for project manager, this is a direct, because usually the project manager is working 100%, like the time will be 100% for this project, so it's direct. And also we need to include admin costs. The 7% we need this to be calculated from this item, and then we do save. So it is already saved. Okay, so here this item is 612 months. It's just 1. It will be covered 100%. Direct activity, admin cost is included, so it's 7,200. Let's add another one. For example, M&E officer. The unit will still be person. Quantity is 1. No, the cost is for example 500. The quantity is 1 person. The months will be 12 months. Will be 100. Will be direct. Also, we will include admin costs, and then we will see. So it's like 6,000. Maybe here we can see the education program manager. See, the program manager is usually managing many projects. So because it's program manager, sometimes the donor is still it's a person. The cost, for example, the program manager would be $1,000. The quantity is 1. The months 12 months, but the donor will refuse to charge 100. Even if we put it here, if we have it 100, it will be 12,000. Usually the donor will come back to us. We see the program manager is managing many programs. That we already have one project manager, but for this it's like the program manager. So we can do we can have edit, and so we could have here only 50%. So it is already changed to 50%. If we have, for example, the executive director of the NGO. The executive director of the NGO is a person. The cost, for example, is 1,200 with one, he or she or one, okay, for 12 months. Charge is usually not 50%. The donor will refuse to support the executive director with 50%. Because the donor assumes that the executive director is only giving 20% or less from his time for this project. So for example, we try to push for 20%, direct, also admin costs included. Sometimes for this item, the donor is not considering the executive director is direct. So sometimes they say no, it's not direct, because the executive director is managing the whole NGO, not only the project. So they say no, it should be support. So they consider this budget is a support budget, not a direct budget. And so on. We can keep working on adding staff. For example, we could have field education officer. The field education officer will be a person. The unit cost is, let's say, 500. The quantity is 1, 12 months. Percentage charge will be 100. It's direct because this education officer will work 100% for the project, and then we see. So now this is the component for the project staff. We still can add like admin officer, admin assistant, program assistant, whatever we need to consider as a staff. And then we add a budget category. Let's say now we need now we have supplies, commodities, or materials. So let's add this. This is a new category. So as you notice here, this is 1, this is just 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5. But here we have different category. So we will add a material, for example, we add an activity or material. Let's say we will have a train 20 teachers on modern teaching methods. The unit here could be an activity. It could be, for example, a unit. If we could have something total or whatever. The costs here will be, for example, if it's maybe we could have $3,000. The quantity will be one activity, only one activity. It will be just done once. It will be covered 100% from this. Direct admin cost will be included. So it will be 3,000 for this activity. If you notice here, we have the budget is calculated here. So we already have this is because it's support. The system considered this is indirect costs, while the other part is direct costs. So it already gives us like the total. So usually if we have the 7%, this is the admin costs or overhead. The overhead or admin cost is 7%. So the system already calculating from the total. From the total budget of this, it will be this amount. And this is the project total budget for everything. And we can save at this level. We can still work on it. For example, let's say distribute school bags and stationery for 5,000 students. The unit will be also total. It's like unit. The costs, let's say that every school bag is $10. With the stationery, the quantity is 5,000. It will be done once. The charge will be 100%, direct admin, and so on. So it's $50,000. It is already included here with the total, for the total of this, while the total project budget is becoming $1,000. Let's say that also we will, let's say that we will maintain 100 double chairs and desks. I don't know how the maybe in the targeted schools, and then it will be unit. The cost for maybe we could assume that each double chair will cost $100, and we have 100, so it will be cost $100. The quantity is 100. It will be done once. 100% direct admin, we will be saved, so $10,000. I don't know the cost exactly. I'm just assuming that it's 100. It could be reduced. Distribute, procure, and distribute 20, because we will train 20 teachers, so we will give them 20 teachers kits. For example, it will be person, because it's for each teacher. A cost, let's say that 200 for each school kit, for each teacher's kit. The quantity is 20. It will be given once, charging 100% direct admin costs, and then it will be for thousands. So we can keep adding a lot of activities for every item. Let's see here that we have rehabilitate 20 classrooms and make them child friendly. So it will be unit. The cost will be, for example, every classroom will cost maybe $1,000. The quantity are 20. Once will be done. Charges 100%, direct admin cost included. So we'll have $20,000. What else we will do in this project? We will conduct 300 awareness sessions on importance of education in the targeted areas. The unit could be unit. The cost for every awareness session is $50. It's 300 awareness session. We will do it once. 100% direct admin cost included, and so save. As I mentioned, also we could keep adding many activities here. just under supplies, commodities, and materials. Also, now we will add another budget material. Let's say that we will add equipment. So for example, here in the equipment, we will have, for example, we will have laptops for the project staff. So let's say the unit will be maybe machine, or we could just have a unit. The cost for each laptop, let's say, is 500. Could be more, could be less. You need to make sure of the cost. The quantity, for example, we will buy 4 laptops. It will be just done once, charged 100% from the donor, direct admin cost included, and done. So let's also add another category, contractual services. Let's say that we will provide contractual services. For example, we will pay cash transfer. Maybe we could have, or we might don't need anything here, so we will not add anything. Maybe we will remove this item. Or let's say that we will have cash transfer for teachers incentives. For example, it will be person. We will have $100 for each teacher every month. 20 teachers. We will cover them for let's say 9 months. 100% admin cost included, and we direct costs, so on. Okay, let's add another item. We are about to finalize, so I'm sorry if we took more time, but that's how we do it. Travel costs. We will have another item is travel costs. Let's add a row. So for example, we have car rental for M and E field visits. What will be unit cost? For example, we could have a car rental. I don't know how much it costs per month, but let's assume that it's $1,000 for a car for the whole month. Or we could have per day. So it depends on how we calculate. So if you are going to rent it per month, and quantity will be 1 car for 12 months, duration of the project will be charged 100%. Admin costs will be $12,000. Also, we can add a row for M&E. So we have, let's see, travel allowance. Yes, allowance. We have a unit per person. For example, we will have $30 for every person. There will be 2 in every field visits. We will have 12 months. So we assume maybe let's see 3 here. So will be charged 100%, admin cost included, direct keep. So we will have this cost for travel allowance. Okay, let's add another budget category. Transfer. If we are implementing this project with also sometimes we have another NGO that is our partner. So we will add the grant that will be given to this NGO. So grant to the NGO partner, and we will have here the unit is unit. Sometimes we put the total budget. For example, it's $20,000 or more, how much ever it is. Quantity is once. It will be once because this is a total, and a charge will be 100%. Direct admin costs. So this is $20,000. Okay, let's have the last items. Maybe we will have operation costs. The operation cost is done like this. So we have office rent, could be also unit. The cost, for example, if the office rent is 500, it's like only one office that is covered for 12 months, but the donor will refuse to charge 100% here. So if you have 5 projects, then it will be fair if you charged only 20% from the donor. So we include admin costs. Sometimes we don't include admin costs from this item also. Or we could include, so let's see, stationery cost, for example, 100, quantity is once for 12 months. Also, it might be like, let's see, 50%, direct admin costs and so on. Sometimes utilities, it's like, so it's like electricity and water costs. So electricity and water costs, we can see unit, we can, let's see, $200 for the office. It's one office, 12 months. The donor will refuse to charge everything from the same donor. So let's say that 20% is covered from the donor or 30%. So you need to negotiate. And then last thing maybe we could put here is like or maybe telecommunications and internet. Same, we could have unit, we could have cost per month, for example, 200, quantity is once, 12 months. Maybe that the donor will agree or not, depends on how you negotiate, admin costs, so on. So this is the total budget for the operational costs, and we have this. Then we have 7% for the total budget. So we have at the total project budget. As you noticed, we spent about 20 minutes developing this budget. It's about $2,000, and that's how we develop the project budget. I hope it was clear. Soon there will be an update in Portal, then you can print it as an Excel document. But for now, if you want to download the budget, you can have it as a Microsoft document. So this is how session 11. Okay, so I will show you how this budget is so this is the proposal that we were working on. Because we didn't work on everything, we just worked on, like, this is the name of the project, and this is the total budget, 200, almost like 201,000. And you will find out that we have, this is the budget that we were working on. So this is how we have the budget. So we have number, item, unit cost, quantity or number of unit, months, charge, direct, admin costs, and total. So that's how we have it. We will have the total budget of $201,000. I hope this is giving you a good example of how to work on the budget. I'm sure every donor have, like, or most of the donors, like, every donor has their own different template. But if you learn how to do once, like if you learn how to do it once, then you will be able to develop the budget every time. What I will do with you is I will share with you the budget template. So for example, I will share with you the Excel sheet where you can use it anytime you want. I will share with you this Excel sheet. It's the same Excel sheet that we were working on the proposal. It's similar to the one we were working on Portal 365. So I will upload it on the training group on LinkedIn. So you can have it, or we could share it with the email. Let's see if we have already some questions. Yes. Yes, some comments about maybe conducting BDM or anything. Yes, we can add a PDM cost also, and so I hope it was a good example. So please, if you have any question, please don't hesitate to ask. I will open the unmute. I will unmute all of you. So if anyone of you has a question, you can talk or you can write on the comment.
Hi, Adel.
Yes, hello, Faris.
Nice. Not a question, rather a comment.
Yes.
Some donors, they request like contribution from the NGOs.
Yes.
So like if you are requesting 100,000, they request like 10% or 20% as a contribution from the NGOs. Yes. I don't know if you would like to add this thing or highlight it.
You are right. You are right. Yes, many donors, they are requesting the contributions from other donors or from the same NGO. So the NGO will have to have another column on the budget, and then, for example, we charge the executive director, let's say 20% from this donor. Then we could say that the other part from the executive director salary will be another shared, will be shared, for example. The office rent, the operation costs, we can also sometimes have some shares from some direct activities. So for example, if we are going to have awareness sessions, we can charge 10% on the NGO. And then the NGO will find a way to cover this contribution. But in general, for example, if you are working on Portal 365, I could show you how to do it. So for example, we are working on Portal 365 and we need to have our contribution, for example. So what we will do is that we go to the cover page and then we add another donor. So let's see. So here we will add a donor. For example, if we let's say that we will add Portal 365 as a donor. So Portal will be added. Then when we go to the budget, we will have the item of Portal 365. We need to add it. So let's see. Now we have already two donors. Before we didn't have, only one. So here we can edit. We can edit now. For each item we have UNICEF and we have Portal 365. So we have let's see, the total was 7,200. We could charge, for example, here 702,000 will be UNICEF. Here is 00 and C. So it is already still from both donors. Amount is 0 for one donor and 700. That's how we do it. And also, for example, the executive director here, it's The executive director has 1,200. Then it is only on this amount is covered by, let's see, is covered by the UNICEF. Then Portal 365 will, if it's the theme, like let's say the NGO is called Portal 365, so we can still cover, for example, same amount of money. Okay, let's see how it's done. Donors amount total must be equal. Okay, so it is only charging like this. So maybe we need to change this to 40, and then we cover both amounts of money. Okay, equal to.
I'll just change the contribution of UNICEF and Portal to equal this number.
Yes,
I mean, you can put here like 5,000 and Portal 760.
So let's say if it's 50%, it's okay. So it's 300, is 3,600. 300. Yes, you are right. 3,600. So yeah, so the total is the same now. Let's. Okay, so we added the contribution of 2 agencies and so on. So that's how it's better to have like a column. Maybe I could also say, share with you the same Excel document. So for example, here it's like the total will be total UNICEF. If the donor is UNICEF for sure, or any other donor. So let's say total UNICEF, and then here we have if the NGO called Portal 365, we will have total Portal 365, and then we include, for example, if we have a project manager, the same idea. I'm sure it's boring now for everyone, but it's person. I will show you just this item. Unit cost is, let's say, 600. Unit number of units, it's 1. Duration is 12. Covered is 100%. But the total UNICEF will be let's say, let's see that equals, so this by this, we need to make it 100%. Okay, 700,000, and here we could make it 00, and so on. So we keep putting like the contribution of the NGO and the donor, and then we calculate at the end how much is charged for the donor and how much is charged from the total from the NGO. Hopefully I could like highlight this. I think we needed to highlight even more. Okay, Hala has a question. If you please share the Excel sheet with us through email. Is it us who is responsible completely about determining the budget for each detail, or we are restricted to a specific standard? Usually, the NGO and the one who is writing or the team that is developing the proposal should be responsible to decide the costs. And sometimes we send the procurement staff to the market. They visit the suppliers and they bring us quotations. For example, if we are going to fix if we are going to rehabilitate a classroom, sometimes we put a figure. For example, I put $1,000 as an assumption. And then we try to, if the donor accepted the proposal, once we are negotiating some changes, we send some engineers to the field, some civil engineers, and they give us the bills of quantities. We make sure the exact bills of quantities, and we include them with details with the exact budget. If we are, for example, going to buy school bags, when we mentioned that the school bag and stationery is $10, it's just an assumption, but it would be much better if we visited some let's say stationery shops, or maybe we could have some quotations from them, and we find out exactly how much it costs. We could have different types of school bags. Then we decide what is the type that we are going to buy, so we could include the exact costs. So it would be much better if we prepared quotations from the field and we made sure that we are putting the right budget costs. This is really important. So how much ever we are precise and clear, and we are sure about the budget item, it would be much better to negotiate with the donor. Okay. And we will share the Excel sheet for sure. Okay. Yes, if anyone has a question, please, we still have 3 minutes. Of course, we have more than 3 minutes, but just to push for questions. Actually, I was thinking that this session will be only for 30 minutes, but we ended up on 1 hour and 30 minutes. I'm glad you continued watching. So there is a flexibility in defining the cost. Yes, Hala, usually there is a flexibility, and usually the NGO can decide the exact figure only during the humanitarian clusters. Now the clusters, for example, education cluster, wash cluster, health cluster, these started to push for having definite costs for some activities. Before, and like, for example, if we are applying for USAID, for your UK aid, if the donor is outside of Yemen, you can put the exact figure that you think that is right. But if the donor is inside Yemen, it would be much better to have quotations. So if the donor negotiated with you, you will have an evidence that you decided based on this quotation.
Just another comment, Adel.
Yes.
I mean, I would recommend like to prepare the budget usually in US dollar, but in case of Yemen, if you are pushing or you have to use Yemeni riyal, it's very important to take in consideration like the inflation rate.
Yes.
To take it like in consideration. Sometimes we like take 10% or 20%.
So for example, there is a different exchange rate in Sana'a and Aden. So,
yeah.
So you need to make sure that you have the highest, not the least. You put the highest exchange rate. So yes, Faris, thank you so much. This is really important. Is that we need to be flexible, and we need to put in consideration these kind of volatility and exchange rate and like in prices. It would be much better to be ready for changes in the market. So it would be much good and much better if you don't go to the donor and request changing in the budget, because this is the worst thing. This is the biggest nightmare for the donor when you request new budget allocation or changing in the budget items. Ahmad is asking if the cost of external services like baseline end line studies are standardized or not. I mean, if they are conducted by a third-party monitoring. Ahmad, usually this is decided by the same NGO. It's not decided exactly because sometimes we were having only small budgets, but sometimes it's huge. So it would be much better to be decided within the NGO. For example, if it's a post-distribution monitoring, you could have a small budget, but if it's a final evaluation, a baseline, if it's a baseline or end line, a final evaluation, midterm evaluation for the project, I would recommend that you put more than $8,000. Let's say $15,000. Usually it's more, but I would recommend that don't put less than $8,000 because it's very difficult to implement a final evaluation for a project with less budget. I still remember in 2018, I conducted final evaluation for one of CARE's projects. It was $30,000, and I'm sure we were the least like tender that we applied. So I think you need to put more than $8,000 for each final evaluation of project or midterm review, final review, endline, or baseline. That's my advice. Faris, this is the cup you provided me the last year. You give it to me. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. I think we took a lot of your time. It's time to have a good evening. Enjoy your time, and let's discuss on LinkedIn group the next steps and how we can find calls for proposals and start to apply for some calls for proposals. It's a great opportunity for you to learn and to push for applications. Thank you so much, and I'm really glad you could participate all the previous sessions, and I will be happy if you could also teach others. Try to reflect on from these sessions to teach your colleagues or your friends any other one. Thank you so much. Bye bye.